If you've been around non-dual messaging for a while, reading books, watching videos, you might have picked up on this notion that spiritual awakening means waking up from the dream of spirituality itself, which might sound to you like a major disappointment or like just the right mix of wit and irony for the whole thing to sound exciting and real. But either way, it misses the point and still creates confusion and questions about the nature of spiritual awakening. We still ask whether it's even real, and what is it, and it never stops being an obsession. And I'll try not to fuel it today. And to help me put my point across in this video, imagine you have a bag of ice cubes and you leave it on the counter. And bear with me. Let's say seeking has subsided for you. You're totally unconcerned with the concept of awakening and have no skin in the game of questioning its reality. You might still remember living from a place where that shift was everything you would ever focus on. So there could be this major contrast between how you remember you used to operate in a constricted fashion and how you take yourself to function more recently. And even though you cannot trace this change back to any singular event, logically, this contrast tells you that something had to have happened. And it's exaggerated by the intensity of the search. Our memories or descriptions of how the shift has unfolded are painted by the amount of suffering it seemed to take, and by all the efforts made and how much buildup of story, emotion, and tension has passed through you as you have moved from the spiritual constipation into a life of ease. But in order to get a hold of that contrast, you need to bring up memories of the struggle and a sense of liberation that's charted over time, over the last few months. So you need to basically stop and look back. And then the notion of spiritual awakening appears as a verdict of what happened and a desirable story. And that story easily becomes a private or a public identity, something you tell yourself or tell others, simply creating a myth about yourself, which is perfect for some because it sells books and venues in the spiritual marketplace. Because, and I don't know if you agree, but whatever the spiritual teacher is saying, whatever the doctrine is, whatever the teaching, whatever the practice is, still the most interesting thing is what he personally went through. And his whole legitimacy is coming from our ideas of whether his shift was the real deal. But now, time has passed, and you come back to the bag on your counter after a few hours. So spiritual awakening is exactly as solid as that bag right now. And you can't point to a single moment that changed everything. Just like you can't even find when this moment started. Can you? The freedom that is felt in between the lines of a story of awakening is something that surfaces when there is no story, when there is no looking back to compare, where there are no conclusions and no judgment. So in other words, spiritual awakening alludes to something, but the very statement breaks the sense of freedom that inspired it. So you could say spiritual awakening is a story of what happens when there is no story. So without a story, what is it? Are you awake right now? When did this awakeness begin? You probably can't say, but if you started tracing it back to this morning, to a retreat, to a glimpse you remember, then awakeness just got cluttered by the process of assembling memories. So what is it right now without the past? And tell me, what is the destination of this awakeness? How long will it last? And to answer that, you need to go to the future, to hope, fear, to intention. And in the process, awakeness is filled by projection. So what is it without the next? This is what I do in the one-on-one sessions, by the way. We sit together without spiritual concepts, without narratives, and we just see what's left. And there's a link below if that sounds like your kind of meeting. And I do want to thank you for listening. So here's what we can do. I will really appreciate a like and you hitting subscribe. And right after you do that, go to my bookings page and use code FREE in capital letters. And our first meeting, perhaps the only one you'll ever need, is going to be free of charge. And to my subscribers, it's so wild to have so many like-minded people. That's maybe not a big number on YouTube, but it's huge for me. It's just amazing. I really appreciate you listening. I'm just making these videos trying to be true to what this is. But don't ever let me tell you what this is. Don't let anyone, in fact. And on that note, let me tell you this. Waking up feels very much like falling asleep. And although you might still associate awakening with insights, realizations, and ecstasy, these are merely convulsions of a mind that's disappearing. The silence, the absence, it's very much like being sound asleep, not even dreaming.